This violent insurrection at the Capitol was orchestrated by former President Trump and his lawyer, along with the Oath Keepers and the Proud Boys. And we're going to have our day in court.
When Lauryn Hill declared, "You might win some, but you just lost one," she may have been providing a soundtrack to Donald Trump's time after his disastrous presidency. In the latest legal blow, Congressman Benny Thompson and the NAACP are using the Civil Rights Act of 1871, a.k.a. the Klan Act, to sue the former president, his lawyer, and a host of others. They accuse Trump of violating the statute by trying to interfere with certification of election results. This week has also seen the call for a 9/11-style commission to investigate that January 6th insurrection, and two former Republican lawmakers are calling on Congress to invoke Section 3 of the 14th Amendment against Trump. It prohibits officials from running for office if they engage in rebellion against the United States. Meanwhile, the newly dubbed former guy is still peddling the big election lie and sowing division amongst his own party.
Rush thought we won. So do I, by the way. I think we won substantially.
The Republicans are soft. They only hit their own. Like Mitch, they hit their own.
I know Trump can be a handful, but he is the most dominant figure in the Republican Party. We don't have a snowball's chance in hell of taking back the majority without Donald Trump.
He's so thirsty. America broke up with you. Joining me now, political reporter for the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, Greg Bluestein, civil trial and criminal defense attorney Midwin Charles, and justice correspondent for The Nation, my pal Elie Mystal. Thank you guys for joining me. Midwin, I do want to start with you because the thing that I find so striking about this is the GOP still remains blindly loyal to this guy. I mean, we see them cannibalizing, rooted in white supremacy, eating each other alive, but they are still the party of Trump. Will anybody ever be held accountable for what we saw on January 6th?
It's my hope that they are. It's unusual to see them to be so beholden to Donald Trump, particularly when you consider the fact that he lost the House, he lost the Senate, and the Republicans lost the presidency as a result of him. But when you look at all the possible charges that he could be facing, I am still cautiously optimistic as to whether or not we'll ever see Donald Trump in an orange jumpsuit. We have a criminal justice system right now that favors men like Donald Trump, men who are white, men who are wealthy. And Donald Trump is no stranger to lawsuits, right? He is where the lawsuits reside. Before he became president, he was involved in over 3,000 lawsuits. And while he was plaintiff in some, he also was sued by the federal government for discriminating against blacks, not renting to them, all the way up to Trump University, where he paid out a $25 settlement. So Donald Trump right now is looking at a variety of different lawsuits, from an investigation by the district attorney of Fulton County in Georgia, Manhattan District Attorney Cy Vance for bank fraud and insurance fraud, civil actions, for the same underlying issues, with Letitia James, New York State Attorney General. So the list goes on and on and on. And I know I get a lot of people on Twitter asking me, will Donald Trump ever be held accountable for this? I am cautiously optimistic, particularly with the criminal justice system. But when it comes to civil cases, I could see him being held liable on a whole host of other issues, including wrongful death cases.
Wow. I didn't even think about the wrongful death cases. That's really interesting. Greg, Midwin kind of queued us up perfectly for your role in this, being a reporter at the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. Look, it's not lost on me that two black women are holding him accountable for his role in accused multiple issues with the law. But what I find fascinating in the Fulton County case is the grand jury is set to convene in March, if I'm not mistaken. And Fannie Willis, the Fulton County DA there, is saying that they will begin requesting subpoenas necessary at that time. Any chance Trump could be subpoenaed? And how will she enforce that subpoena, do you think?
Yeah, there is a chance the former president, could be subpoenaed, but we're looking even more closely at whether or not Fannie Willis subpoenas state officials like Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger, who is on the other end of that famous call from former President Trump, demanding that he find enough votes to overturn the election results. If she subpoenas Governor Kemp, who is also pressured by the former president to call a special session to illegally overturn the results of the election. Lieutenant Governor Jeff Duncan was also urged to preserve documents that could be crucial to this case because he presides over the state Senate, and the state Senate called hearings featuring pro-Trump attorney Rudy Giuliani spouting false conspiracy theories and other lies about the election. And there are some state lawmakers who could be subpoenaed too, because they're the ones who were directly promoting these falsehoods that could be really key to this investigation.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people are going to be watching this case. Let me ask you one more question before I turn to Ellie. You know, he really doesn't have any political immunity here. But what I find interesting about the Georgia case is all of these people who could potentially be subpoenaed, they were Trump supporters. So, you know, they're not necessarily anti the MAGA ideology, while they may be anti the individual. Any idea who actually leaked this call?
Yeah, that's a great question. And we got it around the same time as the Washington Post way back in January 3rd, I think it was. Can't say who the source was, but clearly that call is the centerpiece of this investigation because, but I should say, it's not the only part of the investigation. It might be the headline of this investigation, but the DA's office has also made clear it's looking into other things. Potentially Lindsey Graham, the senator from South Carolina, his own call to Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger, allegedly urging Brad Raffensperger to find other ways to toss out legitimate ballots. President Trump's role with the federal prosecutor here in Atlanta, who resigned very suddenly right before the January 5th runoff. So there's a lot of different avenues. She made very clear that this is going to be a very far-ranging investigation. So we're carefully watching every step she takes.
Ellie, I want to turn to you on this NAACP lawsuit. You wrote yet another brilliant article in The Nation where you talk about the lawsuit, and you say the Klan Act made it illegal to use force, intimidation, or threat to prevent government officials from discharging their duty. Does this lawsuit that the NAACP and Congressman Benny Thompson has brought, does it have legal standing?
Oh, absolutely. It's almost like the law was written specifically for this kind of situation, because it was written specifically for the situation where a mob of angry white people try to prevent the government from functioning. So it absolutely has legs. This is actually the second Klan lawsuit the NAACP has filed. Shout out to Cheryl and Eiffel. The other one came in December, and it's alleging the same violation of the Klan Act based on his big lie. It sues Trump and the Republican National Committee for trying to intimidate officials into decertifying the election, specifically to throw out black votes. So it's a good suit. It's a really good idea. Trump really only has one legal defense. It's called sovereign immunity. Government officials are generally immune for their conduct if it's taken throughout their duties of office. So if you think of like a meter maid putting a boot on your car, she can't be sued for stealing your car. However, if the meter maid kicks out your window and drives away with your vehicle, like she just jacked your ride, she can be sued for that. And that's what Donald Trump has done by arguing that the election was still in doubt. In fact, it shows that he was doing that rally on January 6th as a presidential candidate, not as the president. So I think he will be hoisted on his own loud petard.
Ellie, leave it to you to close us out on a great note. I just want to point out that 2 former Republicans are calling for invoking the 14th Amendment, like we talked about in the open. That would mean Trump can't hold office again. But you have to wonder, there were also 57 Republican lawmakers who took part in the insurrection. So how will this affect them? So stay tuned. I'm sure I'll have you all back to discuss this and more. So thank you, Greg Bluestein, Midwin Charles, and Ellie Mistal. And don't go anywhere at home, because